Have you ever been deeply betrayed? Felt the painful sting of someone cheating you? What if I told you that in the grand cosmic play, you are actually the lucky one? Welcome to a journey into the profound mysteries of Saint Kabir. Centuries ago, he declared a truth that defies all human logic: let yourself be deceived, for true peace will follow. But cheat another, and you invite your own destruction. But why? To understand, we must look into the dark shadows of the epic Mahabharata. A single selfish, deceitful desire by Satyavati's father to steal the throne didn't bring his family glory. It ignited the most devastating war in human history. We must also face the ultimate trickster of the universe, Maya, the grand illusion. Even the great Sage Narada, sent to fetch a simple cup of water for the Lord, was so utterly blinded by Maya that he lived an entire lifetime of illusion, only to watch it wash away in a terrifying flood. Are we just like the dog trapped in a room of mirrors, fiercely fighting our own reflections? Today, you will discover how to break those mirrors, awaken the innocent power of Lord Shiva within, outsmart Maya, and find absolute freedom. Are you ready to awaken? Let's begin.
Today's satsang is based on a couplet by Saint Kabir. The couplet is: कबीर आप ठगाइए और ना ठगिए कोई, आप ठगा सुख होठ है और दैज दुख होए. In English, this translates to, let yourself be deceived, but never deceive another. If you are cheated, peace arises, but if you cheat others, only sorrow will follow in your life. Saint Kabir's second couplet is: Maya tu thagani bani, thagat fire sab desh. Na thagne thagani thagi, ta thag ko adesh. This means, Maya, the worldly illusion, is like a deceiver, tricking and cheating everyone in the world. But the one who deceives Maya itself is the true saint, completely free from the games of Maya. Returning to the first couplet, Kabir aap thagaiye aur na thagiye koi, aap thaga sukh hot hai aur daij dukh hoye. The deep spiritual essence of Saint Kabir's words is that it is far better to be deceived yourself than to deceive someone else. What is the underlying motive behind cheating? Why do we feel the need to cheat anyone? We want to cheat someone because we have an inner desire to acquire something we are not willing to earn through our own honest hard work. Instead, we try to obtain it by deceiving another person. Saint Kabir's underlying message is this: if someone is deceiving you, do not resist them. Allow yourself to be deceived, for simply by accepting it and letting go, you will find peace. However, if you choose to cheat them in return, you will only invite suffering. To understand this from another perspective, consider this: if you are deceiving someone, it means a desire has taken root within you. It is often said, man minus desire is equal to God. If a person completely removes desires from their heart, they become an embodiment of the divine. Conversely, if a person allows desires to consume them, they take on a darker, destructive nature. Truly, man minus desire is God, and man plus desire is an evil power. When you cheat someone, it stems from an inner craving. You are deceiving them merely to fulfill that urge, mistakenly believing that this act will bring you satisfaction. For a fleeting moment, you may feel that your desire has been fulfilled, but you cannot foresee the future consequences. You cannot imagine the impact it will have on your life or the immense suffering it will eventually bring. The Supreme Lord knows your past and your future. He also sees exactly what you are doing in this present moment, and the true intentions and feelings hidden within your heart are perfectly clear to Him. You can understand the depth of this teaching through a story. An episode from the Mahabharata serves as a perfect example of this. In the Mahabharata, Satyavati was a boatwoman who ferried travelers from one bank of the river to the other. She was an exceptionally beautiful and captivating woman. When the great sage Maharshi Parashar saw her and noticed her beauty, he instantly foresaw her destiny. He told her clearly, "Something extraordinary is meant to happen in your life. It is the will of the divine that through our union, a great sage will be born." Satyavati grew anxious, but Maharshi Parashar reassured her, saying, "There is no need to fear. As soon as the child is born, he will depart for the forest to meditate and perform penance. Moreover, the moment we unite, thick clouds will cover the sky, darkness will fall, and no one will ever know of our meeting." Thus, Satyavati and Maharshi Parashar united, leading to the birth of the great sage Vedvyas. Just as prophesied, immediately after his birth, he left for the forest to devote his life to penance. Some time later, King Shantanu, the ruler of Hastinapur, happened to visit that area. The moment he saw Satyavati, he was completely mesmerized by her and proposed marriage. He then went to meet Satyavati's father, Dashraj. Initially, her father refused the proposal. However, he later laid down his terms, stating clearly, "I will agree to my daughter's marriage on only one condition. The child born to her must be the one to inherit the royal throne." This demand was rooted in his deep worldly attachment and selfish desire for his daughter. Simply put, he saw a golden opportunity and wanted to take full advantage of the situation to secure power. King Shantanu did not agree to this condition because his son, Bhishma, was already fully capable and worthy of inheriting the throne. Bhishma was his 8th son, born to his first wife, goddess Ganga, who had immersed her first 7 sons in the river. Without going into the depths of that specific backstory, the main point is that King Shantanu refused the marriage. He was absolutely unwilling to fulfill the selfish demand put forth by Satyavati's father, Dashraj. However, when Bhishma learned of his father's sorrow, he went to Dashraj and took a formidable vow, the famous Bhishma Pratigya. He pledged that he would never claim the throne, nor would he ever marry, completely giving up his rights so that his father could marry Satyavati. This was exactly what Dashraj wanted. His sole desire was for his daughter to become the queen and for her lineage to rule. Since Bhishma's vow was absolute and unbreakable, the path was cleared, and Satyavati was eventually married to King Shantanu. But we must remember that this entire situation was driven by Dashrath's personal ambition. Whenever you act out of a selfish craving, a desire that lacks moral grounding, the outcome will inevitably bring suffering. Dashrath had no idea what destiny had written for the future. Tragically, neither of Satyavati's sons lived long enough to rule and produce an heir. In the end, out of desperation to save the lineage, Satyavati even asked Bhishma to marry her widowed daughters-in-law, Ambika and Ambalika. But Bhishma firmly replied, "I am bound by my unbreakable vow. I cannot do this." Now, Satyavati was left with no other option. In her desperation, she called upon sage Vedvyas, her firstborn son with Maharshi Parashar. She pleaded with him, "Please bless these two daughters-in-law with heirs to continue the lineage of Hastinapur." Through this arrangement, Dhritarashtra was born to Ambika. However, because sage Vedvyas had spent years in intense, austere penance, his appearance was quite formidable. Terrified merely by looking at him, Ambika tightly shut her eyes in fear. As a result, she gave birth to a blind son. When it was Ambalika's turn, Pandu was born. While Ambalika did not close her eyes, she trembled with immense fear. Because she was so deeply frightened, she gave birth to a pale and frail child. Seeing this, Satyavati once again prayed to sage Vedvyas, "Please make one more attempt." However, both daughters-in-law were unwilling to go and secretly sent their maidservant in their place. The maidservant approached the great sage with a calm, devoted, and joyful heart. As a result of her pure state of mind, the incredibly wise and righteous Vidura was born. Without delving further into the countless events of this epic, the main lesson I wish to convey is this: Dashrath's selfish desire to see Satyavati's bloodline rule the kingdom was never truly fulfilled. Whenever an action is driven purely by worldly desire and personal greed, obstacles are bound to appear. Ultimately, these complications grew so massive that they lead to the devastating Mahabharata war between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, bringing ruin to the entire empire. Whenever you try to deceive someone in life or act purely out of selfish desire, negative forces will surround you, leading only to destruction. This is exactly what happened in the epic. On the other hand, if you approach every task with an innocent heart, even when you are fully aware that the other person is trying to cheat you, your inner state becomes like that of Bholinath, the innocent Lord, like Lord Shiva himself. In this pure state, you become endowed with divine strength. If anyone tries to deceive you when you are in this elevated state of consciousness, they will ultimately destroy themselves, just like the demon Bhasmasur who turned himself to ashes. This is exactly why Jesus Christ said, "Only those who become innocent like children can enter my kingdom." When you become as pure and innocent as a child, all the divine powers of Lord Shiva awaken within you. It is from this spiritual purity that you experience true, lasting happiness. Conversely, if you try to cheat others or harbor selfish desires, it will bring nothing but sorrow. You might not face the consequences immediately, but suffering is inevitable in the future, just as we saw in the Mahabharata. Let us look at another story to understand this deeply. There was once a man who was a staunch atheist. He had absolutely no faith in the divine. One day, he went to visit a Sadguru, a true spiritual master, and was completely shocked by what he saw. The Sadguru was resting, but he had placed his feet directly on top of a sacred Shiva lingam. The man simply stood there, watching in disbelief. After some time, the Sadguru got up and started cooking flat breads or rotis. He had barely made 2 or 3 when a dog suddenly rushed in, snatched the bread, and ran away. Without a second thought, the Sadguru immediately started running after the dog. The atheist man was watching all of this unfold. The Sadguru ran after the dog, finally caught up to it, and gently said, "At least let me apply some clarified butter on the bread." He took a small bottle of ghee out from his clothes, lovingly spread it on the roti, and offered it back to the dog to eat. Seeing this, the man was completely astounded. In its own way, the dog had cheated the Sadguru by stealing the bread and running away. However, a person who is truly united with God sees the divine in everyone and everything. Such a spiritual master sees the Lord even in a dog, and rather than letting the dog eat dry bread, he prefers to serve it a proper, loving meal. The Sadguru then turned to the bewildered man and imparted this profound wisdom. The divine is everywhere. God is present in every person, and God is present in every stone. East, west, north, or south, the Supreme Lord resides in every direction. He further explained the true nature of existence. Just as God is present in the sacred Shiva lingam, He is also present in an ordinary stone, and His divine form exists within the dog as well. If you cheat anyone, understand that you are ultimately only cheating yourself. Therefore, never deceive anyone in your life. Whatever action you perform, do it completely free of selfish desires. If you live this way, your very soul will become a reflection of the divine. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna imparts this exact same wisdom: perform nishkam karma, selfless action and service. When you act selflessly, you no longer crave the fruits of your labor. It is only when you are completely free from the desire for results that your actions can be truly offered to the divine. Such actions are pure and entirely free from any trace of deceit. The philosophy of Vedanta also teaches us to perform our duties without selfish desires. True success is achieved only through actions that are selfless, devoid of personal cravings, and completely free from any intention to cheat others. On the other hand, if you perform any action driven by worldly desires or with the intent to deceive, it will ultimately bring you nothing but immense suffering. Therefore, walk through life with the pure innocence of a child. Even if someone tries to cheat or deceive you, understand that they, too, are a manifestation of the divine. Let them be, and by accepting this with grace and non-resistance, you will experience profound peace. But if you intentionally cause pain to others or try to cheat them, it will only lead to your own deep sorrow. Consider the devastating war of the Mahabharata between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, where everything was ultimately destroyed. The root cause of this massive destruction can be traced back to the selfish and deceitful intentions of Satyavati's father. Whenever an action is rooted in deceit and personal ambition, you can never truly reach your ultimate goal. You will only invite pain. Therefore, whatever task you undertake in life, perform it as a loving offering to the Supreme Lord, with a pure and completely desireless heart. Saint Kabir has spoken of this very truth, and the Bhagavad Gita teaches the exact same principle, Nishkam Karma or selfless action. The ultimate teaching of Vedanta also echoes this. True, supreme happiness lies in living a life completely free from selfish desires. When you stop craving the fruits of your actions, you elevate yourself to a state like that of Lord Shiva. In this pure and innocent state, if anyone tries to harm or cheat you, they will end up destroying themselves, just like the demon Bhasmasur. Therefore, the deep meaning behind Saint Kabir's couplet becomes perfectly clear. कबीर आप ठगाइए और ना ठगिए कोई, आप ठगा सुख होठ है और दैज दुख होए. It reminds us that every action should be performed without selfish cravings. If you act out of personal desire or attempt to deceive someone, it will only bring you sorrow. Now, let us explore Saint Kabir's second couplet. Maya tu thagani bani, thagat fire sab desh. Na thagne thagani thagi, ta thag ko adesh. Maya, the worldly illusion, is a manifestation of the Supreme Creator, Brahma. It surrounds us from all sides. Understanding Maya is incredibly difficult because it acts as a medium, a deceptive veil through which we experience the world. Through the lens of Maya, everything is merely superficial and illusory. Yet, we easily succumb to its temptations, which inevitably leads to a spiritual downfall. To understand how Maya works, imagine a dog standing at the edge of a pond. When the dog looks into the water, it sees its own reflection. If the dog barks, the reflection appears to bark back. The dog genuinely believes that there is another dog in the water. Because it is completely captivated by its own reflection, it is unable to see the reality of the situation. Eventually, in an attempt to fight the other dog, it jumps into the pond. Of course, It finds no other dog there and ends up drowning in its own illusion. In the exact same way, Maya drowns us in the ocean of worldly attachments. To understand this better, there is a beautiful story. Once, Sage Narada was sitting with the Supreme Lord. Full of confidence, he said, "Lord, you speak so much about the power of Maya, but surely, Maya cannot delude everyone." Hearing this, the Lord simply listened and remained silent. After a while, the Lord gently said to Narada, "Please bring me a pot of water." Narada took a vessel and went to the river to fetch the water. However, as soon as he reached the river bank, he saw an incredibly beautiful woman. He was instantly captivated by her. Completely forgetting about the water he was supposed to fetch for the Lord, he approached her father, asked for her hand in marriage, and they were wed. Time passed. They had children, and many years went by in worldly bliss. Then, one year, there was a devastating flood. Water was everywhere. Narada's house was swept away, and tragically, his wife and children all drowned in the raging waters. In that moment of profound grief and shock, it suddenly struck him, "Wait, the Lord had sent me to fetch a pot of water." He quickly filled his vessel and hurried back to the Lord. Seeing him, the Lord simply smiled and asked, "What took you so long?" It was only then that Narada realized the true, overwhelming power of Maya. You do not even realize when or how you have been swept away by its illusions. As Saint Kabir's couplet says, "Maya tu thagani bani, thagat fire sab desh." Maya is the ultimate deceiver. It tricks everyone so subtly and completely that you never even see it coming. Deeply humbled, Sage Narada bowed down in reverence before the Lord and said, "Now I truly understand how profoundly Maya can delude a soul. Just as there is only one moon in the sky, its reflection can be seen in countless small ponds. These reflections constantly ripple and move. The real moon is high above, yet people become deluded, believing the moon is right there in their own pond. This is exactly what Maya is. Light emanates from a single source and spreads everywhere, continuing to expand. As long as you do not connect with that true source, just like the actual moon, you will remain lost and bewildered in the illusions of Maya. Consider the story of a dog that accidentally got locked inside a house made entirely of mirrors. As it frantically searched for a way out, it saw another dog wherever it looked. It started fighting with one reflection, then another. The poor dog fought so relentlessly against its own reflections that it became deeply wounded and eventually died in that very room. Maya deludes us so profoundly that we completely forget what the absolute truth is. And Maya just keeps expanding, much like light continuously spreading in all directions. Think about our existence in this world. Every single day, everything around us is constantly changing. This clearly shows that we are living within Maya. This ever-changing nature is the grand illusion, which is why the material world itself is often called Maya. There is only one primary path to break free from this illusion, and that is to truly understand and recognize Maya for what it is. Do not let Maya deceive you. Instead, you must learn to deceive Maya. But how can you deceive it? The only way to overcome Maya is to understand that Maya itself is also a manifestation of the Supreme Creator, Brahma. Brahma is Sthita Prajna, perfectly still, absolute, and unchanging. The light that emanates from this absolute stillness is the light of Brahma, but it takes the form of Maya as it interacts with the material world. Because it exists through this medium, it is constantly changing and shifting. Imagine a circle. It has only one center, but the light from that center spreads outward, reaching the entire circumference. Right now, we are standing on this circumference. The moment you step past the outer edge and journey back to the center, the true source, you unite with Brahma and finally recognize his divine light. To understand this in another way, when you truly know your own soul, when you immerse yourself completely within it and become one with it, you reach an elevated state of being. When this state is achieved, know that you have successfully outsmarted Maya. This beautifully echoes the second line of Saint Kabir's couplet. Na thagne thagani thagi, ta thag ko adesh. When you reach the ultimate source from which the light originates, the very origin of Maya itself, understand that you have finally defeated the illusion. Now that you have recognized where Maya comes from, connect deeply with your inner consciousness. Become one with this pure awareness, elevate your consciousness, and you will naturally rise far above the illusions of Maya. Now the question arises, how can we connect with our pure consciousness? How do we elevate and awaken this awareness? Right now, our consciousness is deeply covered by a massive boundary, a thick veil created by our own mind. You must remove the interference of this mind and let go of all worldly emotions. Only then will you be able to experience the sweet fragrance of the divine flower blooming within you. In simpler terms, you must empty your mind of all thoughts. The very moment you reach a state of complete thoughtlessness, the truth will become perfectly clear to you. You will realize that you have merely been staring at the moon's reflection in the pond, while the real moon shines high above. When you finally reach that true moon above, the mind will lose all its power over you. Your mind will become completely still, entirely free of thoughts and mental chatter. It is only when you become completely free from thoughts and worldly emotions that true spiritual power will awaken within you. This inner power will guide you straight to the Supreme Lord, to the ultimate source of that light from which all of creation began to manifest. Until you reach this elevated state of being, you will remain deeply entangled in the illusions of Maya. Therefore, To truly understand Maya and to rise above its illusions, self-realization is absolutely essential. This self-realization is attained through deep meditation, pure love, and unwavering devotion. Ultimately, this divine truth can only be experienced when you merge and become completely one with the Supreme Lord. Until you become sthita pragya, perfectly still and established in unwavering wisdom, you will not realize the true origin of Maya or where it comes from. The Supreme Creator, Brahma himself, casts this illusion of Maya upon us, not to keep us lost, but so that we may ultimately strive to reach Him. The true purpose is to stop wandering in this illusion, to become one with the Supreme Lord, and to rise far above all worldly greed and reactions. When you reach that elevated state, you will never wish to deceive anyone, and you will find genuine peace even when you are deceived. You will awaken to divine essence of Shiva, the pure, divine essence of Lord Shiva. The moment you enter this state of profound innocence, you will transcend Maya completely. You will merge with the Supreme Lord, and your ultimate union with the Divine will be fulfilled. There is immense depth in Saint Kabir's couplet. No matter how much you reflect upon it, there is always more to uncover. Lord Krishna imparted this wisdom in his own way. The philosophy of Vedanta explains it in its own way, and Saint Kabir has expressed it in the simplest of words: do not cheat anyone, and if someone cheats you, experience joy and peace in your own innocence. If someone deceives you, it is because they consider you innocent. But being seen as innocent simply means that you are a true reflection of Lord Shiva, the innocent Lord. Remain steadfast in this pure, divine essence of Shiva, for experiencing that state is the ultimate bliss of life. Thank you.